In our app, we're showing interesting places on their way across the country. This is geared for the tourist. And what do tourists like to do? Well, they like to eat. They stay at hotels. They may want to find ATMs to withdraw money. When a user expands our app, they'll see these items, but they'll also see locations such as schools, hospitals, post offices. Now, these are important things, but in the context of our app, they're just noise. Thankfully, MapKit allows us to filter these locations out of our maps. MapKit defines an MK point of interest category, which we can use to filter our maps. We can define our maps to include just those points of interest. Conversely, we can define points of interest that we want to exclude from our map. If you don't want any points of interest, you can also exclude all of them.
In this demo, we're going to include categories such as restaurants, ATMs, and hotels. Everything else will be removed from the app. Open up your demo app, and then open up mapViewUI.swift. In MakeUI View, right before you return the map view, let's add the following categories that we want to display on the map. So we want to return a restaurant. We can just indicate using the restaurant category. Now we have the restaurant, ATM, and hotel. Next, we're going to create a point of interest filter, passing in the categories. And then we can assign them to the map view. And that's it. Build and run. Okay, with your app up and running, tap on a New York location, and then tap on Find on Map, and you'll see various points of interest that only fit within our categories. If we zoom in even closer, you can still see we have a lot of them, but they are all either restaurants, ATMs, or hotels.
MapKit also provides a way to search for points of interest in an area. For instance, a user may want to look for a fast food restaurant. To do this, you create an MK local search request and provide a query. You can also set up auto-completion and apply filters on it as well. In this case, then you'd apply a restaurant filter. From there, you can make a request and then parse the results. Objects are returned as map items. There, you can get their name, their coordinates, and use that information to annotate the map. Let's see search in action.
Okay, to get started with searching, we're going to need to start off with the model. To do this, select the model group and then press Command N. And we're going to create a new Swift file. We'll call this file location query. This model object will request the search and then parse the results. So scroll down here, let's make some room. First, we'll import MapKit. And since this involves some asynchronous operations, we'll import combine as well. Now let's define a class called location query, and we're going to make this an observable object. This object's going to take two published properties. One is the actual search query. The other is the results of the search query. The search results is simply an array of strings for the nearby locations. Since we're using combine, we'll need to create a set to hold our subscriptions. Finally, we'll need to know the region for the search. Now that we have our properties, let's create an init. And this will take in a region. Now to write the actual query. If you're unfamiliar with Combine, this may be a little confusing. Check out our book on writing Combine to learn more about the framework. First, start with the query. Then we're going to set a debounce for 700 milliseconds. This is the time when the user stops typing to when the query should start. Next, we'll remove any duplicates. Now we'll write the actual MapKit query. We'll be using self, so we'll need to capture it as a weak reference. And this takes in a value. Now we'll create the search request, passing in the value and the region. And this is a type of local search. Now we'll create a local search, passing in the request. When the search starts, we'll get a response and an error. If we have an error, we'll print it out and then return. Now we have a whole bunch of responses containing map items. We'll use compact map to add the name of the map items to the search results. Finally, at the end of the query, we'll store the subscription. Okay, that's the model. Now for the view. Oh, we have to fix this up here. Okay. Select the Views group and press Command-N. Create a new SwiftUI file and name it Map Search View. Start off by importing MapKit. So we have our map search view. We're going to create a new object, and this is going to be a state object. This state object will be our location query. Now let's update the body. This body contains a navigation view, which contains a VStack. Inside the VStack, we'll first add a text field. And for the text, we'll pass in the search query. We'll set the style of the text field, and now we'll create a list. The list will take in the location's query search results. And then we'll add in a title. Now for the init. This init is going to take a region. And from the region, we'll create our location query. Okay, this isn't compiling because the preview needs to be updated with the new initializer. If you want to see the preview, you can update it to the following. Open up mapview.swift. We'll show the search as a sheet, so let's create a property to store whether the sheet is being presented. Next, add a button next to the close button to prompt the search. Now for the sheet itself. Add it to the ZStack. And that's it. Build and run. Open up the map location, and now you'll see our magnifying glass. Tap on it, and search for hamburgers. You'll see the item names will appear. Now, we're only showing the minimum. You may want to put the name followed by the address, or the telephone number, or even how far away the location is. Ultimately, it's what works best for your users.